Hi everybody, Earl at thelogbook.com here for another voyage of shelf discovery. And so a funny thing happened. I shot this video once already, and then due to some weirdness with Windows changing my settings because I quit out of my video production program and then went back in, the video had no sound. So the problem is, since this is an unboxing show, you can really only unbox something once. So my options were really to make a silent film out of it, or to try to salvage it some other way. So obviously, what I opened in the video I originally produced were 4 figures from the new 5-inch Playmates Star Trek line. Kirk and Spock from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Michael Burnham and Saru from the Star Trek Discovery line, which has the kind of generic Star Trek universe packaging that really, I remember saying this in the original video, going forward, I really think they should lean away from the retro packaging and just go with the Star Trek universe packaging. I get what they were trying to do, but common marketing sense says maybe don't confuse people, because, you know, a few feet behind me, I have Star Trek The Next Generation figures that Super 7 has put out this year. And Super 7 is now also putting out a range of 7-inch figures. So you really want to differentiate yourself from what other companies are doing, because multiple action figure lines running in parallel, you know, in multiple scales. Number one, it's confusing as hell. Number two, it's something that you've got to make your own thing stand out. So Playmates is doing, 5-inch figures. They should do the Star Trek universe branding, since they have the Master Toy license, and they should own that look. It's a nice, clean look on that packaging. Now, what I did to try to salvage this situation, and perhaps, maybe this is the future of this show, or should be, I'm going to let you guys tell me in the comments, those of you in the Discord, tell me in the Discord. Let me know what you think of doing things this way. What I did, since everything was already open, was I have a shelf set aside for photography. Well, I put the camera in video mode and went in and shot a bunch of new footage, as you can see. And as you can also see here, Picard and Data are back from the previous Playmates figures that I opened on Voyages of Shelf Discovery. There's a reason for that. I said something in that video that it both is accurate and is not accurate, because it was a complaint, and I feel the need to rectify that. So we're going to focus at first here on these 4 figures that were opened. The Kirk and Spock figures, both from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, they had what Playmates called nostalgic packaging. Burnham and Saru come in the newer packaging, which is kind of streamlined. It says Star Trek Universe. It's kind of the same logo that you see before the shows on Paramount Plus every week now, because they now have that kind of identifier before each show that, whatever this is, you are watching Star Trek. You're watching something in the Star Trek universe. And I really like that ident that they have on those. That's really cool. I really think Playmates should stick with the Star Trek universe packaging going forward. However, of course, they're already They're already doing something else entirely for Star Trek Prodigy. It's going to have its own packaging. However, that is largely due to the fact that Star Trek Prodigy is a Nickelodeon production, and therefore Nickelodeon gets input, and they get a say-so in the packaging. So the packaging has to reflect Nickelodeon's interests and not just CBS, Paramount, what have you. The Kirk and Spock figures. Spock comes with a pair of radiation gloves. Really, basically, so you can kill him. Let's be very clear about that. They're made of a pliable material. You slip them on and off the hands because otherwise, as you can see back here, Spock's right hand is it's not just in live long and prosper mode. He's also kind of got the claw going on. I'm not sure if that was a concession that was made to accommodate the gloves, and also the left glove is, even though the left hand is not like this, the left glove is forever pointing. Now look at this guy. Look at this guy. So the gloves are made of a pliable material. I will probably leave them off most of the time, but yeah, I think that repeatedly putting them on, taking them off, they're gonna be kind of ratty after a while. There's they're made of a softer material. There's a high potential for that to get torn up over time and a lot of wear. Now, we have gotten Kirk in the Munster Maroon before as part of the Star Trek Generations line back in 1994, late 94. The Generations line was kind of interesting because those figures had no more articulation than a Kenner Star Wars figure because they were kind of rushed into production. But the other weird thing about Playmates' 90s line, the way they handled the movie era, it was really strange because you had Kirk, Scotty, and Chekhov in Munster Maroons from Star Trek Generations. And they later also did Savick from Star Trek II in the Munster Maroon. And they also did a figure of Picard from the Next Generation episode Tapestry in his version of the Munster Maroon, where they didn't really have the pleated collar. It was just more like a turtleneck. It was the TV version of the Munster Maroon. The other characters were done in Star Trek the Motion Picture uniforms, which is kind of baffling because you wound up with a crew that was in two different uniforms. Chekhov and Scotty existed in a Munster Maroon uniform. They did not get motion picture figures. Spock, Uhura, Sulu, McCoy, they had motion picture figures, but they did not have Munster Maroon figures. So this is the first Munster Maroon figure we've gotten of Spock from Playmates, which is really weird. I kind of hope that they will fill out the movie-era Enterprise crew in Munster Maroons, make it consistent, give us the whole crew, all the way down to Uhura, Savick maybe, but at least give us, the 7 key characters. But the other thing that I want to get into here, since we have this side-by-side shot, that's Star Trek Generations Kirk on the left, the new Kirk and Spock in the middle and on the right. The figures each come with stands, and the new Playmates figures are really hard to get to stand up on their own, so you kind of have to use the stands. I put the 1994 Kirk figure on a stand, and as you can see, there is a height difference, there is a bit of a scale difference, but it's not a huge one. In my previous video, when I opened the figures of Picard, Data, and Riker, I was making a lot of noise about, you can't, the accessories are incompatible, you can't use the Enterprise playset with these. Actually, you totally could. And, since I'm discussing the next gen figures that I opened earlier, here's a comparison of the new Picard on the right again with the first wave 1992 Picard on the left. Again, they are both on stands of roughly equal height. There's a bit more of a pronounced height difference between Picard and Picard here. But, it really kind of varies from character to character. But let's kind of dive into the weeds with this. So here we have Spock and Michael Burnham from the current line, and we have Sarek of Vulcan from the 90s line. That doesn't look terrible. You can put them side by side, and they don't look absolutely ridiculous. And here's another comparison. We have Captain Pike and Mr. Spock from The Cage, along with Saru and Burnham. Oh, hey, it's Disco Season 2. Kind of. Sort of. Maybe not. Because obviously that's Jeffrey Hunter, Captain Pike, and not Anson Mount, Captain Pike. But, again, you could put them on the shelf together, and they don't... It's not ridiculous. I mean, you can tell there's kind of a... time has passed. The reproduction of sculpts and detailed paintwork has advanced considerably since the Cage figures came out in... I think they were out in 96. I think they were out for the 30th anniversary of Star Trek's original broadcast. A lot's happened in the manufacture of toys between 1996 and 2022. And despite that, the scales are not they're not so wildly out of line with each other that you cannot, that you absolutely cannot display them together without it looking silly. So I guess the point that I'm making here is, I originally said that I was only getting into this line of figures because they had the new characters. We have Burnham and Saru there with an old Picard figure. That doesn't look terribly silly. We have Burnham and Saru here with baby hippos. Now that is silly, but let's let's not get any further into that. Oh my gosh, it's another hippo, another space hippo. Okay. The point is, I feel better now that if they continue reissuing figures that exist already, that are already on my shelf in some form, and they're fine, because I was a big fan of the original Playmates Star Trek line. I don't have to buy absolutely everything. If they continue reissuing TNG characters, unless it's a huge improvement over what already existed, there may not be a reason to do the double dip. Just get the new guys. Now, I would like Anson Mount Captain Pike, thank you very much. I would like the whole Strange New Worlds crew, to be quite honest. And I'd like everyone from the new shows. I hope we get more than just Michael and Saru from Discovery. I want Stamets, I want Culber, I want Jet Reno. I mean, let's go all the way down the ranks. Let's have Tilly. Let's have Lorca. I mean, I know he was just there for one season, but let's have Lorca. And Arium, that would be an interesting figure. Because you could actually kind of get a better look at how that, the very interesting look of that character would make for an interesting figure, I think. The only figure that I have not purchased from this line, and kind of going into what I just said, I may be fine not purchasing it, is I haven't gotten Khan from Star Trek 2. And that's okay, because Playmates did a perfectly good figure of Khan in the 90s. I have one on my shelf. you know, on the other side of the room from this camera, and it's still in good shape. You know, it's cool. So, you know, like I said, if they want to keep cranking out the TOS crew and Monster Maroons, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And, you know, let's concentrate this line on characters we have not gotten already. You know, let's do the main characters from Star Trek Picard, from Discovery. Let's please do Lower Decks. You know, I know there are some people who are like, oh, you know, that would look absolutely ridiculous to have these animated characters next to, you know, someone who is, you know, something that looks a bit more, shall we say, photorealistic. But that's okay. I still want the Lower Decks characters. I am totally going to get the Prodigy characters and mix and match with my other crews, because why not? It's, you know, this is kind of what being a Star Trek fan is all about these days, is you have all of these characters, all of these crews, all of these shows, and there is something to love about all of them. Why not mix and match? So my earlier complaint with regard to how Playmates was doing this line does not stand. I retract that statement completely, because obviously, you know, despite the fact that the new figures are in a slightly larger scale, it's not such a difference that it just looks absolutely silly. So on that note, you know, I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm glad I pulled some of these figures, some of the older figures out and set them up next to the new ones. Okay, well, maybe not the hippos. But I'm glad I did this comparison and kind of had this revelation, because, and now I feel like I was complaining about nothing, which, if there's anything fandom is good about, that would be it. But anyway, as you can see, URL on your screen, drop by the logbook.com store. You can order these dudes for yourself, whether or not you have a large contingent of crew members from the previous toy line. Fully approve the new guys, and I kind of like the flexibility of, you know, if they keep doing the double dip, I don't have to participate if, you know, there is no need to get everyone. So that certainly makes my budget conscious heart happy. I'm eager to see the Prodigy figures that supposedly are coming out by the end of the year. I have my doubts. Won't go into the reasons for that, but I have a feeling the Prodigy figures may not happen until, well, I mean, they've happened, but they may not get off of a ship. They may not even be on a ship until after the first of the year. Well, we will see what happens there. I would like to be wrong there too, because, you know, I would really like to, you know, see what Murph does when faced with the space hippos, and you know, with meeting Starfleet's best and brightest. So thank you as always for watching, and thank you for giving credit here for the silent film music that I use to try really hard to salvage this video that I apparently screwed up before. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more Voyages of Shelf Discovery.